In section 7.2, we're going to use trig to solve for sides of a right triangle, but first we're going to review the trig ratios. So in our warm-up here, find the following. Sine of b, so this is telling us what angle we're looking at, b. So I kind of like to circle my angle here. And I'm going to label all the sides in relation to where angle b is. So I start with the hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is the longest side, which is across from the 90-degree angle, so that's 34. And then I look at my angle b. The other side next to the angle is the adjacent side. So here 30 is the adjacent side. Again, there are two sides that are next to the angle, but one is the hypotenuse. So the other is the adjacent. 16 is the opposite side. And so now that we've labeled them, we're going to write our trig ratios. And there's that handy acronym, SOHCAHTOA, which will help us write our ratios. SOHCAHTOA. Okay, so the first one is sine of b. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse, so the opposite side is the 16, and the hypotenuse is the 34. So over here we'll write 16 over 34, and we'll reduce if possible. They're both even, so I know I can divide them both by 2, and 16 divided by 2 is 8, 34 divided by 2 is 17. So the ratio for sine of b is 8 over 17. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. The adjacent side is 30, the hypotenuse is 34. So we're going to write 30 over 34. And again, reduce if possible. Again, they're both even numbers. I can divide by 2. So I'm going to get 15 over 17. And then tangent is opposite over adjacent. The opposite side is 16. The adjacent side is 30. So we have 16 over 30. And then we'll go ahead and reduce that. Again, they're both even, so I can divide them each by 2. And we'll get 8 over 15. So those are the trig ratios. Let's do the same thing except for a different angle. So now sine of c, I'm going to go ahead and I'll erase these sides right here. And let's look at c. I'll use a different color. Let's make it green. So here's c. Let's again label our sides. The hypotenuse is still the 34. The opposite side is the 30. And the adjacent side to angle c, adjacent means next to, is the 16. So again, there are two sides next to the angle C, but one is the longest side, and that's the hypotenuse, so the other one's the adjacent side. All right, so again, SOHCAHTOA, we'll start with sine. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So the opposite side is 30, the hypotenuse is 34. And let's reduce that. We can divide each of those by 2, and we'll get 15 over 17. Let's do the next one. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. The adjacent side is 16. The hypotenuse is 34. So we'll get 16 over 34, which reduces to 8 over 17. And then our last ratio is tangent of c, which is opposite over adjacent. So the opposite side is 30. The adjacent is 16. Okay, so opposite 30, adjacent 16. And again, we'll go ahead and reduce that to 15 over 8. So if you notice, if we switch the angles, sine and cosine switch for each of these, and then the tangent flips. Okay, so our goal today is, can we not only set up the ratios, but solve for a missing side? So we'll do 4 examples, and then your assignment will be to try these on Desmos. If you're in class, you can do it on the worksheet. There'll be 8 of them for you to try, and you can check your answers on the Desmos. All right. So using trig to solve for angle, first step is you got to pick your angle. It has to be one of the non-right angles, and here the 73 is given to us, so that's the angle I'm going to choose. Second step, we're going to label the sides that we have. So I'm not going to label the hypotenuse because we don't know how long that is, but x is opposite the angle, and the 27 is the adjacent. So again, thinking of my acronym SOHCAHTOA, let's write that up here. SOHCAHTOA. We're going to look at which ratio has the O and the A. And if you notice, that is tangent. So again, if we just label the sides that we have or that we want, it's going to tell us which trig ratio to use. And this time we're going to use tangent. So we'll say tangent of 73 equals the opposite side, which is x, over the adjacent side, which is 27. And then to get rid of the divided by 27, we can multiply each side by 27. Another way is we can cross multiply. So to do that, I'm just going to put this over 1. And if we have 2 ratios that are equal, we can cross over and multiply. 1 times x is 1x. And then we'll put the equals, and we'll cross over the other way. 27 times tangent of 73. And if you notice, x is by itself, so we just have to type this in. You do want to make sure you're on degree mode, whatever device you're on. It should say DEG somewhere. And so on mine, it shows right here, degree mode. And I'm just going to type in 2 tangent of 73. 2 tan 73. And then we'll get our answer. So it's about 6.5 if we round to the nearest tenth. So x is about 6.5. Let's look at how we would type that in. Like if you have the Desmos graphing, I bet we could still type that in too. I'm going to actually pull up a Desmos here. Let's see. Okay, so it should have the trig functions as well. And we wanted 2 tangent. You can just type it in. Ooh, but it's in the wrong mode here. How do we change it? The mode. Functions. Here's tangent. Oh, I wonder if we have to use that. Okay, so 2 tangent of 73. Oh, it's not in the right mode though, so I'm not sure how we change it. The mode on Desmos. Let's take a look. Changing to degree mode on Desmos. To set, click on the graph settings wrench. Okay. Settings. Here it is, degree. So here's how we change. So again, the wrench and degree. Oh, okay, there it is. So we can see it's 6.5. Okay, so now that we've changed it to degree mode, again, the wrench and then change it to degrees, we get the same answer. It's about 6.5. And we know our hypotenuse, our opposite side. Okay, so here it is, 6.5 about. Okay, so there it is. All right, let's try another one. Let's go over here. Kind of messy. I'll erase some of this here. Okay, so again, first step, select your angle. Again, the 31 is given. And label our sides. So again, we have the opposite, we have the adjacent. So again, which one has O and A? It's going to be tangent right here. So I'm going to say tangent of our angle equals the opposite side, which is 27, over the adjacent, which is x. Okay, now let's solve this. So again, we can make tangent of 31 into a fraction, and then we can cross multiply. So we have 27 equals, and we'll cross over the other way, x times the tangent of 31. And again, we want to get x by itself, so we have to get rid of the tangent of 31, which is a number. So to get rid of it, we just have to divide, since it's being multiplied. So we'll divide by tangent of 31, and this is what we'll type into Desmos. So now that we're in degree mode, it should work. So we'll try 27 divided by tangent, I wonder if I can just type it in, tangent of 31. And it looks like 44.93. Let's see if I get the same thing on mine. 27 divided by tangent of 31. Aha, so we get the same thing. So you should be able to use your Desmos graphing calculator. Again, change it to degree mode by pressing the wrench and making sure you're on degrees right there. Okay, so 44.9. So x, and it's the hypotenuse, should be the longest side. 44.9 would be our side right here, the hypotenuse. Whoops. Okay, so 44.9 right here. Okay, let's try the next one. So again, select our angle. Here it is. Label our side. We have the opposite and the hypotenuse. Okay, so this time we have two different sides, opposite and hypotenuse. So take a look at which trig function has O and H. Is that sine, cosine, or tangent? And it's sine. So we're going to write sine of our angle, sine of 82, equals the opposite side over the hypotenuse. And we're going to solve for x. So we'll cross multiply and solve. X equals, we'll cross over the other way, 3.4 times the sine of 82. And we can just type that in on Desmos. So 3.4 sine 82, 3.4 sine of 82, and that's about 3.36, so 3.4 if we round to the nearest tenth. So x is about 3.4. Ooh, but is that the same length as the hypotenuse? It shouldn't be. It should be a little bit smaller, but did we type it in right? No, that's right, 3.4 sine. I guess it's just a little bit smaller. Maybe I should have rounded a little bit better. 3.3669. That's a little bit smaller than 3.4. So let's write that down. 3.3669 is a little bit more accurate. Okay, and then let's try our last one. Whoopsies. Okay. Okay, so our last one, again, we select our angle. It just happens to always be this one down here. It doesn't have to be. In fact, let's use this angle. So to find that angle, I know there's 180 degrees in a triangle, so I could do 180 minus 90 minus 22. So this angle is 68. Let's see what happens if we use that angle to solve. Okay, so here I'm going to choose this angle this time. And this time I have the opposite, I have the adjacent. So that is going to be tangent. We have opposite and adjacent. So we'll say tangent of 68 equals the opposite side over the adjacent. No, it's hypotenuse, not adjacent, silly me. Okay, so it's not tangent. The adjacent side would be over here, but it's the longest side, so this will be sine, opposite, and hypotenuse is sine. Okay, so sine of 68 equals 44 over the hypotenuse, x, and then we'll cross multiply and solve. So 44 equals x times the sine of 68. And again, sine of 68, that's just some number. And so it's being multiplied. To get rid of it, we'll divide by sine of 68. And so this will be what we type into Desmos, 44 divided by sine of 68. So let's clear this out. 44 divided by sine of 68, and it's about 47.5 if I round to the nearest tenth. So x is about 47.5. Okay, so your assignment then is to practice choosing your angle and your ratio, and then cross multiplying and solving. So let's do maybe one more. I want to choose one where like the angle looks weird. Okay, so like this one looks kind of funny. All right, so number 5 right here, here's my angle, and here's the hypotenuse. It just happens to be the same as the angle, and we want this side, which is the adjacent side, so I'm going to call this x right here. So a and h, that's cosine. A and h is cosine. Cosine of 56.1 equals the adjacent side over the hypotenuse. And then we're going to cross multiply and solve. So we have x equals 56.1 times the cosine of 56.1. Ooh, that's kind of funny. So we'll type that in. 56.1 times the cosine of 56.1. And it's about 31.3. Oh, excuse me. All right, so x is about, I forgot already, 31.3. And we can see it's smaller than the hypotenuse, which it should be. So the remaining 7 problems, you want to choose your angle, label your sides, choose the right trig ratio, and then cross multiply and solve.